Hello everyone. So apparently the recording I did during the class was not saved. It was corrupted. So I'm going to start afresh using this recording, and I'm going to go as slow as possible. So this is the dashboard that we created using the call center dataset from the 4H platform, and I am going to just recreate what we are seeing in a step-by-step approach using the new report. So firstly, I would just want to quickly grab the size of the Canva I used here. Go to the Canva setting. So I used 1500 and 2400. So I'll quickly edit that, so I'll have to do it again. So oh boy, pardon me, let me quickly pause the video, have a call coming. Alright, so as I was saying, so I wanted to change the background to one, that's the background size, or rather the Canva setting size to 15 and 24. So I'll come here and change it to custom. Now change this to 15. Now change this to 24. Very good. So the next thing I'll do is to bring in the data. So it's an Excel workbook, so I'll click on Excel workbook. Then I'll locate the data, and I think the data is in my data analytics call center dataset. I'm pretty sure you already have it with you, right? So we'll wait for that to load up. So the idea of this project really is to help understand the call agent performance and see how we can help the company to increase performance. So instead of loading, let's click on transform data. Let's see what needs to be cleaned. So this is the Power Query editor. I've always said it is the Power BI kitchen, where you kind of prepare the data for smooth analysis after. So ideally you want to check for each of the columns which one is not good enough, and we can see this is call ID, which is the categorical data, the name of the agents, the date, and this is time. So it doesn't look like time, it looks like date time. So I'm going to just change the format to time. And then this is the topic is also categorical, and of course whether or not they answered, whether or not it was resolved, and also the speed of answer in seconds, which is the average response time, or rather the average time it took to answer the call, not response. What we have here is average talk duration, which is the time taken to actually talk to the customer. But what we have here is in date time, and if we change it to duration, which should be what it is, it will give us error. So we can't really use this data, so we have to report to the client that this particular column is not going to be useful. So what we do on our end is to delete the column. And lastly, we have the satisfaction rating, so the rate from 1 to 5, right? So the null there are those that probably did not right, probably those that did not, the calls were not answered, so ideally they will not rate it for anything, right? So I think we are done with the cleaning. It's quite a clean data set, so let's just close and apply and go and start the visualization. So let's wait for it to load up. Right, so remember the data analytics process. You have to understand the problem so that you know how to go about the analysis and the visualization. So let's quickly do that. So we'll be employing the use of DAX formulas in this project, and I already showed us how to use ChatGPT to do just that. But because of those that probably were not in class, let me just quickly show you the prompt that was used to bring up all of these DAX. Alright, so the idea is to use DAX. So DAX again is called the data analysis expressions. It's used to create measures in data in Power BI. So let's just see what we did. So basically I just put in the prompt. I said I am a data analyst and I have been given a task to analyze a data for call center agents. The data comprises of variables such as speed of answer call, resolve call, rating, and other relevant data. Act like a professor of MIT with 3 PhDs have majored in data analytics, economics, and a business strategy. Give an advice on how to give the best recommendation on this project. And you can see it gave us different things, like we should understand the business objectives, clean the data, define our hypotheses, feature engineering, which is understanding which of them are more relevant, the analytics, correlation. So all of these are what we should use. And then I just went about and asked it to, I would love to calculate DAX measures using Power BI, such as the calls answered, average rating, and then it gave me these different DAX. But what we used really was we used this, where we said give us the percentage of call answered, give us the average rating, give us the total call answered, which can be done anyway by ourselves. So total call answered. So let's go to Power BI and let's start. So the first thing I will do is to insert the PWC logo. So I'll click on image. I must have already downloaded the PWC logo, so I'll just come to my pictures. Now search for PWC logo, and then I will insert that. So that is the logo. I just resize it a little. The next thing I'll do is to insert the shape. So I like using rounded rectangle. Remember that this is just my own way of doing things. You can start to use your own. You can use a cycle, you can use anything, you can use it. So just be creative in your own way, but try to use stuff that are very easy to understand. So now that I have done is select the rectangle and click on style under the format, and switch off the switch for fill. And for the border, we want to use a color that looks. So let's go back to, so ideally you look for the color X code for PWC. So just go and do PWC. Just search on Google. PWC logo and X code. So we're using the beer part of it. So this is the orange color, orange yellow. This is the beer. So the beer is #E88D14. So I'll copy that and I would have downloaded the logo. Then I'll just come back to Power BI and I'll click on more colors because of consistency, and I'll say I'll just paste it there, and it gives me the exact beer color I need. And I can increase the width to about 5 or 6 to something. It looks much more better. Alright, good. Then I can now insert a text, and I can say call center dashboard. And I can make this 35, and I can change the font color to the color we are using. Okay, let's make that 50. Let's make that 60. Alright, 60 looks good. So let's bold in it. Right, so this makes a little bit more sense. So I'm just going to make it a little bit longer. Good. So the first thing we want to do is to add the card visuals. So let's add the first card visual, and let's put in let's know the total number of calls. So just put in answered. So answered means the calls that were answered. So, or you can just put in call ID here, ideally, and then we just count the call ID. So just count call ID. So this will give us the total number of calls. Right, so let's quickly edit this so that it let me be sure of, so I'm trying to recreate this, so let me just be sure of the font size. I use 35. all right, I use 35 so that it can rhyme better. So let's edit this, and let's use 35, and let's use our color, and let us switch off category label because we want to put our own title ourselves. And then let's call this total calls. Total calls, that was called. Then they can make this 30, and you can also make this the color that we want, and put it in the middle. Alright, so that settles it, but we'll now continue to put in some effects. Visual border, I'll allow it to be in the same color, and I'll put it up to 12, and I'll insert the shadow too. And you can actually set where you want your shadow to be. Right now it's in the bottom right. I can make it to be at the bottom left, so just watch how the glow will change on the visual. So you can see the shadow is now on the other side, so it can be anywhere you want it. So let's use bottom right. So now that I'm done with this, I will just copy it as usual, so that I don't have to do the same formatting that I did just now. So I'll just copy it and paste multiple times, then I will just start arranging them. We'll still have to increase some of them. So the next thing I want to do is to do a DAX. So what we did in the previous one was to get the call answered, which is total number of calls that were answered. So one I was answered yes. So I'll go back to ChatGPT, and I have asked it to give me the color, the DAX, and I said the values are y and or n. So I'll copy this code, and what I will do is I'm going to click on. So what's the difference between a measure and a calculated column? So you have a data set that has several columns, and you want to add something like more, maybe like profit by calculating list price minus cost. You are adding another data to that data set, and it will increase the memory, increase the size, and it may reduce the performance of the software and make your system go slower. But measures in this case will not add to the memory because you're not adding data to the data set. It basically just creating something that you can use. So we'll click on new measure, and then I'll just paste it like that. So total call answered is, we counted the number of rows. Our table name is sheet 1, as you can see here. So we counted the number of rows, but we gave it a condition: filter that table by the answered call. But the issue here is the answered call is not what is in our own data. What is there is what answered yn. So I'm just going to delete this part and select yn. So that will make the formula more accurate, and that it will work. Right, so now I don't need to have, so if you look at the difference, you can see the icon of the measure is now what, like a calculated, or like a calculator. So I'm just going to remove this one from the visual, and I'll just drag and drop this, and now you can see the total call answered. So I'm just going to change the title to total calls answered. So if I want to do the total calls not answered, it's quite simple. I'll just copy this particular, and I'm going to create new measure. Then I'll paste it, but this one, when I say not answered, I will say N, which is no, right? And I'll click enter. And then what I would now do, oh sorry, I didn't change it to, so let me change it to unanswered. So called unanswered. All right, so that will work. It will not allow you to have the same variable name, you know. So for the next visual, I would say total calls unanswered. So I'm just going to remove. I'm going to remove the count of iColor, and I'm going to put total calls unanswered and drop it here. And I'll change the title to total calls unanswered. So ideally, if you add total calls answered and total calls unanswered, it should give you it should give you the total calls that were received, right? So let's see, we also calculated for the percentage of calls answered. So I'll go back to ChatGPT and let's, so I said edit the DAX above to give the percentage of call answered, and it gave me this. It's quite simple. Just add, not divide it. You divide the calls answered divided by the total number of rows. So it's like basically we can easily just do it by ourselves by saying 4054 over 5000, but because I want to use DAX formula, we just do that. So I'm just going to click on new measure. So I'm just going to paste what I have copied just now, and instead of using, I'm just going to use the percentage of call answer. But don't forget that our variable is not answered call, it is answered UIN. If not, it's not going to work. So I'll press enter, and that will give me what we want, and then we can now use it on our visual. So you can see, so all of these calculated measures are not adding to the they're not adding to the data, so it's not going to give have any form of space used up, and hence it's not going to reduce the performance of our software or computer. So I'll remove this and I'll put percentage of code answered, and that's it. So I can easily just click on it again from here, from the data side, and then select the percentage sign so that it converts to percentage. So what we are saying here is that total percentage of calls answered of calls that were answered is 81%, right? Because we want to put in a little bit of context to our data. So we'll just change the title to percentage of calls answered, right? So the next thing we want to do is, let's see the previous one, total calls. Okay, we did not rename this, so this is supposed to be total calls resolved, right? So let's do total call resolved. So it's quite simple. We use the same DAX. So percentage of calls resolved rather. So I'll click on new measures. So now that we have the call answered, so when you call the customer care, it's one thing to answer the call, it's another thing to resolve the dispute or the complaint. So I want to understand how many percent was resolved out of the number of calls that we answered. That's what I'm trying to do. So I'll just paste the previous one here. So I'll say percentage of calls resolved, percentage of calls resolved, and I'll just change this to what? Resolved. I'll do all of this and select resolved, and that will give me what I want, and I'll press enter. So to give me 0 point something, I can change it to percentage from my end. So I will just click on the new, and I'll just remove this, and I'll put in percentage of calls resolved, right? And I'll change the title to percentage of calls resolved. Then I can now click on this and change it to a percentage type. And what this tells us is that out of the 81% of calls that were answered, 72% were resolved, and from there we can know that about 28.1% was not resolved. So the last thing that we did was to know the total number of agents. So I'm just going to click this. I'm just going to drop in agents here, and I'll just change, and I'll click on count distinct. So this gives me total number of agents. So I'll see number of agents. Just come and see number of agents. Right, so we are done with the DAX is basically for doing stuff like this, right? So let me just start doing the rest of the visuals. So let's understanding the performance of different agents, right? So let's go do a chart like this first. I will select the cluster column chart. So let's look at the agents that answered more calls, right, or that handled more calls. So I'm just going to click, and I'll drop agents here, and then we can quickly edit it so we can see. So under columns we go to colors, and under colors we choose our beer color, right? And we can also increase the x-axis values so that it's much more visible. Bolding it, and we can change. So right here we can see that Jim undo the most and Stewart undo the least. And if I now want to do more additional context to know, fine, these are the number of calls they picked, that's the answer. So did they resolve it? How did they not resolve it? So I will just use another chart called line and cluster column chart. Then under the line y-axis I'll now put, but I don't want to use percentage of resolve, because what I used here was total number of calls answered. So I'm going to create a new measure, but I'm just going to create a new measure now. So I will click on new measure, and I would paste the previous one. Or okay, so let me just go and copy. I'll copy total calls and I'll come here to paste it. So what I want is total calls resolved. And then which is supposed to be sheet 1 resolved, and I'll press enter, and then I can now use that measure and put into the line y-axis so that I can see which, I can see how many of them were able to resolve calls. And what I see here is that despite the fact that Stewart had the least number of calls handled, he also resolved the least. So if in terms of performance, we know that Stewart is doing a poor job in that instance. But let's keep going. So I'm just going to edit the line. I'll edit the line, make it a bit thicker, right? And then I will change the color to something that fits. See, something like this that fits. Then I can now change my initial title and say Stewart performed what amongst others, and I can increase this. So remember I said that you would replace your chat with a phrase that you want them to communicate. So I could have communicated that Jim did the best, but then I could also communicate that Stewart did the worst. So I would copy this and paste again, and this time around I want to just look at the trend. So let's look at the trend. So what I'll do is I want to look at the trend of the calls by time. So I'll remove the x-axis and I'll remove the line. So what I'll do is I'll put date on the x-axis and I'll change this to a line chart. You can as well use an area chart that looks like this, right? Or you can use this, but in the class we use this. So I will just change the color to our beer color, and I can increase the width. Alright, so we can now replace the title and say that we had more calls. If you look at the trend of the calls are going down, so it's quite interesting. So we can say we have a, which is a good thing, right? So we have a downward trend of calls, so which means lesser people are complaining, because most of the time you call customer care to complain, really. So if you have a downward trend, it means that you're kind of doing a good job trying to make them much more happy. So lastly, let us basically reduce this so that we can have more space. And I'll reduce this too. Right, so let us do something interesting. So let's look at the rating by each of them. So ideally we want to understand the performance of the call agent, right? So we just assumed Stewart performed worst because he handled the least calls, and of course he did not resolve as many too as others. But let's see what happens when we check for the rating. So I'm going to put in the agent and the x-axis, and I'm going to put in satisfaction rating here. So I'm not going to use sum, right? I'm going to use average. Then I'll change this to a column chart. So what we are saying here is that despite the fact that Stewart handled the list and everything, he actually was rated better than Jim, who came first here. So that means Jim has not been making our customers happy. Ideally, if you check for if you on the data label, we'll see that, putting into context, all of them had an average of 3.5, 3.4, no, 3.4 rather. So we didn't even put in the average. So instead of total number of agents, right, let us use average rating, right? Let us use average rating. So average satisfaction rating, I'll put it here. Now come here and say average. So on an average, generally our average rating is 3.4 out of 5. So I'll change that to what average rating. So that is satisfaction rating, which is good. Maybe we have a benchmark of 3 that we should not go below 3. So everybody, what if it should not go below 3.5? All right. So this is the rating for each of them. So you can see that James Stewart actually makes customer happier than Jim, Becky, and Joe, and Martha makes them much more happier than the rest because they're satisfied. So let us now check for one more thing, which is the topic, which is why are customers calling us? Why are they complaining? What are they complaining about? And let's see which one comes more often, more frequently. And then what we'll find out is we'll just for instead of agent, we'll put in topic, right? So if you compare topic to satisfaction, customers are most satisfied with the admin support. But let's just use total, which is using call ID. And what we see here is that streaming is being complained more about, followed by technical support, followed by payment. So I would like to change this to this so that it can have a different kind of chart. So what will now happen is, okay, fine, we already see that streaming comes first in terms of complaint, followed by, but which of these agents actually did better for each of these topics, or who if you want to advise the management that, okay, if we have a streaming call complaint, who is the best call agent to give it to? So what we'll do is we'll add more context to this one. So we'll first of all change. Okay, we know that Martha had the highest rating, so that what we can just use. So we can just do on an average, Martha had the highest satisfaction rating, right? So that is true. And here you say the streaming customers complained more about the streaming topic, right? So let's now do one more thing. So the chart I'm going to use is a stacked column chart, and I would, under the legend, I'm just going to put in topic. So what we have here at the end of the day is I'm not going to use satisfaction. What I'm going to use, this is the y-axis, what I should be saying is topic. average satisfaction rating. Where is it again? Satisfaction rating. So I want the average. Okay, so it's showing as percentage. Let's say I'm trying to wonder why it's showing as percentage. Let me go to the y-axis, and for the values, okay, data labels, values. There should be where I can do type, because average rating should not be in alright, let me quickly just remove everything first of all, and let us put the first one, which is the agent, and the second one, which is the okay, we did satisfaction rating, right? So satisfaction rating, and we used the average, right? Okay, so okay, let's use it. Okay, this is a we chose the 100% stack instead of just the start column. Okay, that's why we add percent, because we don't want to use percentages, right? So the legend will not be what topic. So this is what we want to see ideally. So I can basically change the colors of each of the columns so that it fits in our color. So let this one be our, and let this one be something. Then go to more colors, go to somewhere close to orange, and choose something, right? The next one I can choose maybe something lighter, and this one I can choose something yellowish, right? Although the well, I'm sure if we put our eyes more, we can see it. And then for the last one, let's put something much more different from the rest. So what we've done here is this: we can know from this chart which of these agents handles a particular topic better. For example, Dan had the highest rating for the topic technical support. So I can easily I can click on this chart and increase the legend. Let's come here for the legend text. You can increase it a bit so that we can see clearly, and we can bolden it, right? So we know that Daniel is probably the technical expert, so anything technical support is better than every other person. And if you check the highest for payment related issues is Diane. So Diane is the highest for payment. She's also the highest for contract related issues. So if you were to advise the management on how to handle such topics, you should give Diane. So we can make a report on each and every one of these agents by just coming here. Let's say to let me just copy one of these, and I just put here, and they can just come here and switch off the title, and I can come here to, instead of it, I'll use what agent. So what I can do here, and I'll change this to what? Slicer. So what I can do here is so let's increase the values a bit, and let's bolden it. So let's say I want to know, let me change the color to, so let's say I want to know how Becky, has performed. Only Becky. I'll click on Becky here, and everything about Becky will come up. The day she had the highest calls that she handled, which of the services she could handle best, and the total cost she answered, and everything. If I want to know about Dan, you can see that Dan's own is technical support, which comes way more, and Dan had the highest call handled here, and this is the total number of calls. So you can tell me about each agent, so you can make a report on each. You can even give the agent, so you can even use this to choose the staff of the quarter, because this is a 3 months data. So to do start of the quarter, you want to know who is the one that had the highest, based on your company's So this is the dashboard that we did with the PWC, and we've been able to give some recommendations to the business, right, about things like who is the best performance of the call agent, and the topics that are complained more about, and the different agents' strengths and weaknesses, and some other key metrics such as the this is supposed to be, yes, the total percent of resolved calls, the average rating, and the rest. So guys, this is it. I really hope that you can quickly recreate this in your own way. See, PWC has different shades of colors, so you can use the deeper red one, or you can use another color instead of using the beer color that I used, and just show your own creativity. Okay, thank you very much.